In a stark shift in U.S. trade policy, President Donald Trump has imposed substantial tariffs on imports from Mexico, Canada, and China.
I always say tariffs is the most beautiful word to me in the dictionary. Because tariffs are going to make us rich as hell. It's going to bring our countries.
This move marks a departure from decades of free trade agreements and signals a new phase in economic relations. Signed at his Mar-a-Lago club, the executive order enacts a 25% tariff on all goods from Mexico and most imports from Canada, while Chinese goods face a 10% duty. Additionally, Canadian energy products, including oil, natural gas, and electricity, will be subject to a lower 10% tariff. The long-standing de minimis exemption, which allowed tax-free shipments under $800, has been eliminated, a move that will impact small businesses and major international retailers alike. The administration justifies these tariffs as a necessary measure to curb the flow of undocumented immigrants and fentanyl into the United States. However, no clear benchmarks have been set for their removal, raising concerns that these tariffs could become a permanent fixture of U.S. trade policy. While Trump insists this will make America strong and rich,
I will very simply put America first.
economists warn that the policy could result in higher consumer prices, disrupted supply chains, and retaliatory tariffs from affected countries. The implications for trade are significant. Mexico, which recently surpassed China as the U.S.'s top trading partner, exported $467 billion worth of goods to the U.S. in 2023, while Canada and China followed closely with $377 billion and $401 billion, respectively. These three nations collectively account for 42% of all U.S. imports, meaning the tariffs will impact a massive range of goods, from automobiles to fresh produce, electronics, and energy. Among the most affected industries is the auto sector. American automakers have long relied on an integrated supply chain across North America, assembling vehicles with components sourced from Mexico and Canada. In 2023 alone, the U.S. imported $87 billion worth of motor vehicles and $64 billion in auto parts from Mexico. With the new tariffs in place, vehicle prices are expected to rise immediately, hitting American consumers and auto manufacturers alike. Beyond automobiles, the price of everyday essentials is also set to increase. The U.S. imports $46 billion worth of agricultural products from Mexico annually, including fresh vegetables, beer, and tequila. The food supply chain, already strained by inflation, will likely see further disruptions, forcing American consumers to pay more for staples. The energy sector is also feeling the impact. While Canadian energy products will be subject to a lower 10% tariff, Mexican imports, such as oil and natural gas, will face the full 25%, driving up costs for fuel and home heating. The reaction from America's trading partners has been swift and defiant. Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has warned of immediate retaliation, with his government considering tariffs on U.S. products, including Florida orange juice.
Tariffs against Canada will put your jobs at risk, potentially shutting down American auto assembly plants and other manufacturing facilities. They will raise costs for you.
Mexico's President Claudia Sheinbaum has also vowed to respond, but is waiting to gauge the full economic impact before taking countermeasures. China, which has been locked in an ongoing trade war with the U.S. since Trump's first administration, has stated that it will defend its trade interests and that escalating tariffs will serve no one. For businesses, the response has been overwhelmingly negative. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce, the nation's largest business advocacy group, has condemned the tariffs, warning that they will disrupt supply chains and increase costs for American families. Industry leaders from the agricultural, energy, and consumer goods sectors have all voiced concerns. The American Petroleum Institute, which represents major oil and gas companies, has argued that tariffs on Canadian energy should have been excluded entirely. Meanwhile, farmers and food producers warn that foreign competitors will seize the opportunity to expand their market share, permanently displacing American agricultural exports. Despite the pushback, Trump remains committed to tariffs, one of the few policies he has consistently championed throughout his career. He has long described tariffs as the ultimate tool to exert economic leverage and control trade relationships. Yet, mainstream economists largely agree that tariffs function as a tax on consumers, driving up inflation rather than solving economic issues. Research from the Peterson Institute for International Economics suggests that Trump's aggressive tariff policy could result in higher prices on nearly everything, from sneakers and electronics to food and cars. The administration has built in mechanisms to escalate the trade war if necessary. The executive order allows for an automatic increase in tariffs if any of the affected nations retaliate, raising the possibility of an extended economic standoff. Meanwhile, Trump has invoked the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, IEEPA, to justify the move, declaring a national economic emergency. While this grants him broad authority to manage imports, it also sets a controversial precedent for using emergency powers to bypass traditional trade negotiations. With tariffs set to take effect shortly, businesses, consumers, and trading partners are bracing for impact. While Trump insists this is a necessary measure to protect American workers and national security, the reality is far more complex. Retaliatory tariffs from Canada, Mexico, and China could lead to further economic strain, disrupting more than $2.1 trillion in annual trade and creating uncertainty for global markets. For American consumers, the coming months could bring noticeable price increases on essential goods. Businesses may pass added costs on to customers, while industries reliant on imported components could see layoffs and slowed production. In the long term, the effectiveness of Trump's tariffs will depend on whether they lead to meaningful trade concessions or simply entrench economic tensions. The world is now watching closely. As the tariffs go into effect, their consequences, whether intended or unintended, will reshape U.S.